many ways to victory. Let's talk about gender being one of those ways. Today, the Harris campaign was in North Carolina, and they spent a good part of a rally today focusing on abortion. How are they doing specifically with the women vote, and can they be grabbing more? What does that look like?
Sure. Well, as we just mentioned, Harris is only about 2 points ahead with women voters over Trump. So it's very, very tight. And Trump seems to have closed the gap both with women voters and actually when it comes to suburban voters. He's winning 48% of suburban voters, she's winning 45%, and about 7% are still unsure. Similar number of unsure also for female voters across the country. About 8% are unsure. I'm not sure that this is the best path forward for the Harris campaign, especially for picking up those voters in the middle. But it's certainly, they're playing defense, right? They're trying to preserve the lead that they have with women voters, and they're anchoring on the one issue that matters a lot to women voters, which is their right over their bodies, their abortion-related rights. Overall, though, the number one most important issue for voters is still inflation. When we asked in our Harvard Harris poll, which of the following issues is most important to you personally, 46% said inflation. That's 51% of Republican voters and 51% of independent voters within that group, and 36% of Democratic voters. The number two issue was immigration. Overall, 16% of voters say that immigration was the top issue. So a full 30 points difference between inflation and immigration. And again, immigration, Republican voters are more concerned with immigration at 27%. Independent voters are in line with overall voters at 15%. Democrats are not as focused on it at only 5%. And then the third issue is abortion, 12%. So again, inflation 46%, immigration 16%, abortion 12%. And again, abortion is the number one issue for 19% of Democrats, 6% of Republicans, and about 10% of independents. So it's not the number one issue. It's a top three issue, but it's not the number one issue for voters. Voters are still overwhelmingly concerned about inflation, about their economic prospects, and they're still in a fairly dour mood when it comes to the economy and their personal finances as they head towards the ballot box.
Talk to us about those numbers, because this poll does suggest people aren't feeling very positively about the economy. Inflation is massively ahead of immigration in this poll. And when Biden was still in the race, inflation and the economy was a weak point for him. So now when voters think of Kamala Harris, do they pin Bidenomics and those sour feelings that they have towards that on her?
That's a great question. It's important to note that when we ask voters, is Harris aligned with Biden politically, or is she to his left or to his right? 50% say largely aligned, about 36% say to the left of Biden, and 14% say to the right of Biden. More importantly, when you follow that question with, will Harris continue the Biden administration policies on issues like taxes, inflation, immigration, and energy, or will she change direction? 63% of all voters, including 62% of Democrats, 67% of Republicans, and 59% of independents, say that she will continue Biden's policies. So in many ways, they view Harris as a continuity rather than a break with the policies of the Biden administration. And as you said, they're in a fairly pessimistic mood around the economy. 62% say that the economy is weak, so close to two-thirds. 63% say that the direction of the economy is off on the wrong track. And almost half of all voters, 48%, say that their personal finances are getting worse rather than improving. So the perceptions around the economy are still overwhelmingly negative. And Trump benefits from this because he's seen as the one who understands the economy the best. When we asked, who understands the economy the best, 49% say Trump, 42% say Harris, and 9% are unsure. So Trump is about 7 points ahead when it comes to understanding the economy, and he's stronger, generally speaking, on economic issues. So this is a weak spot for the Harris campaign, and the more that they can talk about the economy in detail and provide a vision for the economy, the better off they'll be over the course of the next 60 days.